A professional whitewater kayaker and somebody wants to inspire to be like you, is this something they can make a living with long term, or if they retire from the sport?
Honestly, there is not much money in kayaking. It's a very small sport still, but we're trying to grow. We're growing. But you can make a living off of it to a point. Like, I know a lot of people who are cinematographers, so they make a lot of kayaking films, and they also do some other films. I know a lot of photographers, they do a lot of kayaking photography, but they also, again, do other kinds of photography. And I mean, you can make a living, but it's not going to be anything comfortable. It's going to be generally living out of your truck, driving around. But if you find a job like with a kayak company, like a kayak manufacturer, you can help design boats or help build boats. That's definitely good.
So one of the things I also really am so excited about being here with Sage is I'm learning from her as a type 1 diabetic. And I was sitting here asking Sage what she does about working out, because I wear my CGM on my bra strap, and she has this really cool bra that we were just discussing. You want to show it to them? And maybe you could show them where you put the
It's called
CGM.
the Swoo bra, and it actually has a pocket. And I just put my CGM right in there, and it stays there my whole workout. I do crazy jumps, and we do burpees, and it never falls out. And it's just a super convenient place because you can take it out, look, and then I also keep my pump there, and if my CGM isn't on me or something, and again, it stays right in place.
Where are the pockets in the bra other than the top one?
So it has the top one, and then it has one on both sides, and this is the side ones. It has one on both sides. Is actually where I keep my Cliff Blocks when I'm working out.
We'll talk about this next.
And those are fast acting, but I keep them there, so it's like blood sugar, good.
And is this company, it's Swoosh, right?
It's Swoob, S-W-O-O-B.
And does this company specifically make a bra for people with living with diabetes, or is it just for people with all kinds of?
It wasn't actually for diabetes. They actually made it for cell phones, so it's actually pretty cool. You can keep your cell phone there, and it has technology that prevents the wireless and radioactive waves from affecting your skin. Like some people have had problems with that I've heard of.
And you can keep an iPhone in there too?
Yes, iPhone. They were designed for iPhones, but it fits my pump and CGM so perfectly.
They're on my to-order list this week. And this is made by is it Cliff?
Cliff Bar, yes.
It's made by Cliff Bar, and I was asking Sage where she keeps all of her products when she's competing. Because when I compete, I carry a bag of glucose tablets, I carry the glucose gel, and it weighs everything I have down. So Sage showed me about these Cliff Shot blocks. I'm going to let you talk about them, because I'm going out and buying those today.
Well, I've used these since I can remember, and they're about 8 carbs a piece. I want to say there's about 8 per packet. And I just take them when I see my blood sugar start dropping, and they can usually stabilize things out. They take about 10 to 15 minutes to start working, so fairly fast acting. And you can I put them in my sports bra on the side pockets. You can keep them in your waistband. I keep them in my dry bags. They kind of just are scattered everywhere throughout my gear.
So, those are enough. That's enough sugar then, that you don't have to continuously carry glucose tablets and gel with you, because that'll cover.
Yes.
How many grams is that altogether?
Let's see. It's 3 pieces is 24 carbs, so it's 48 carbs per package. And I usually go through about half or a little bit over half per workout, depending on what kind of workout it is. And it usually keeps me pretty steady.
Speaking of workouts, I just want to go back, because I think about things quite often. I want to go back to your competing. When I had interviewed one of the race car drivers, he uses, he has his Dexcom on his car, but he also has a bottle where he has his sugar that he drinks from, so that he can monitor his blood sugars, and when he needs to treat for low while he's racing, he has that. What do you do when you're in the middle of a race, and have you ever experienced something like that where you've had a low blood sugar, and what do you do about that?
Well, actually, I'm lucky. For most of my competitions, if my blood sugar is low right before I'm about to go, I can tell the race organizer, and I am required 15 minutes before I can go. So I have enough time to deal with my blood sugars, actually. But when that does happen, it doesn't happen too often, luckily, but I always have juice boxes that I keep in my dry bag, so I can just pop a juice box. They're probably 24 carbs a box, and juice is super fast acting, so that's what I try to keep around. And actually, when I work out, if I'm starting lower than I usually like to start, I actually will keep a bottle that's like 3/4 juice and a little bit of water, and I'll just sip on that the whole time, and that really helps as well.
And you're pretty well regulated?
Yeah, I mean, it's I try to keep it in line, and I mean, it's hard sometimes because I'm a growing child, and things are kind of crazy, and I have to constantly change things, but I'm pretty stable.
As we are type 1 diabetics and athletes ourselves, we were discussing there are moments in time where you just want to kick the disease, because it does kind of weigh you down and take a lot of fine-tuning to make it work so that we can compete. So I guess my question to you is, have you ever had any emotional roller coasters, or has it affected you emotionally? Like, did you ever become depressed, or how do you feel like you've handled it emotionally?
Well, first of all, I think we can all sympathize with the emotions when you're high or low. I get ridiculously grumpy when I'm low. It's bad. But as for emotionally, I mean, I always try to stay positive. Like, I'm a very positive person, so I always just try to like keep going. Like, it's just part of life. I mean, there's not much you can do about it besides just try to keep yourself healthy and just keep pushing through it and fighting it, and just like, don't let diabetes control you. Just do what you want to do regardless of whatever disease you have, and just follow your dreams and achieve your goals. And I mean, I've never really gotten depressed, but I think all of us have those moments where you had a bad needle injection, something went wrong, your blood sugar is high or something, and you just want to curl up in a ball and cry. And I mean, that's definitely acceptable, I think, at least. And I mean, it's good to have those moments of just wanting to just get rid of it. But I mean, you just have to push through that and get back on it.
What kind of advice would you give to other teenagers, or parents with children, or teenagers who feel like it's the end of all end all, or don't see the positives like we see it or like you see it? How would you help inspire others to make the negative into a positive, to see that a professional sport or any kind of athletics is doable?
I would tell them just what I said. Just don't let it stop you. I mean, it's awful, and it's very hard to control sometimes, but in the end, I mean, it's going to be worth it. I mean, the consequences of not controlling it are just awful. So just keep reminding yourself to control it and do the best you can, and just keep doing what you want to do.
So I know that you are, correct me if I'm wrong, are you the youngest professional kayaker there is, or one of them? And tell me a little bit about your journey leading up to where you're at today, and as far as professional kayaking, and how you got there, your journey, and what you're able to do now moving forward. And you're preparing for the 2016 Olympics?
Olympic team trials.
To qualify. So I kind of would like to know what you did from going amateur to professional, and at such a young age. How were you able to do it? How did you become a success?
Well, I mean, I'm definitely not one of the youngest, but I feel like there's definitely a smaller group of us younger people kayaking, and just we're trying to push the limits, I guess you could say. But I started competing when I was actually 5, but those were just really small competitions, and I actually really started competing when I was 7. And I mean, I had a lot of setbacks, of course, just trying to improve and get new tricks and get stronger and try to keep up with the boys and all of that stuff. Because back when I first started competing, I was pretty much the only girl usually, and it was me and all the boys. And my motto used to be, I may be last, but I had a blast. And then that changed after a couple of years, luckily. But I mean, I always just tried to keep having fun and improving. And my first sponsor, actually, it was my boat sponsor. They asked me on their team when I was 7. And they said they brought me on because I was always smiling, and I just had a blast wherever I was, and I was always talking to people and like, oh yeah, come on, let's kayak, let's go. And just always super stoked and happy. And I've always tried to keep that attitude throughout all of my training and improving, and I think it's definitely helped me get to this point of just trying to get better. And you definitely have those frustrating sessions, training sessions, where you're just like, nothing's working, why can't I do this? I could do this yesterday, and you just get super frustrated, and I just have to remind myself, why am I doing this? Because I absolutely love it, and I couldn't imagine life without kayaking, so I just keep doing it.
What competition was it that was able to take you to your professional career, and when was that? How old were you, and when?
There actually really isn't.
There was.
There was?
Was it
The Pro Games.
Really?
Yeah, your first Pro Games when you did
right.
the creek race. I think that's when.
Yeah, that's what I read.
That's when you went to the
Games.
factories. That's when you went to the
I
factories.
I had this one year, I believe I was 12, where I won my second 2 women's pro freestyle events. One was at my local festival in Reno, and then the other one was at the GoPro Mountain Games in Vail, Colorado. And that was kind of a big deal because I was this little 12-year-old who had just beat the women, and that year I was brought on to the factory team, which is like the highest level team on my kayak sponsor team. And then I was also brought on to the factory team for my gear sponsor team the next year. So I think those were my 2 big years of kind of breaking out and going pro, I guess you could say.
And what age do you have to be before you can go pro?
Well, there really isn't an age specification. It's basically just kind of how well you're doing. You have to be 15 to start competing at World Championships. So it's the year you turn 15. So this year was actually my first year competing at Worlds.
How did you do?
I won Freestyle Worlds.
Wow.
For junior women's. I actually had the highest score for women's as well.
And what age class is that?
I won 18 and under, but then my score beat all the women above 18.
Wow. Is that like your most memorable, proud moment so far overall?
Most definitely. It was just, I'd been there training for 5 weeks in Canada, and I was out there as much as I could, just trying to figure out new tricks. And it was pretty frustrating for me because there's these different features. One's called a hole and one's called a wave, and I'm used to holes, and they're smaller and you can stay in them easier, and waves are big and easier to kind of not stay in. So I wasn't used to waves at all, and I basically learned almost from scratch the tricks, and I just kept learning, and then my ride came together, and I was able to throw almost all the tricks that I had wanted to throw, and it was a very amazing moment.
What did it feel like?
Oh, I felt like the happiest person in the world. It was just like all of that work paid off, and everything, you were able to put everything together, and it's just this amazing feeling of just, I did it.
And you have sponsors. Are you able to tell me who your sponsors are so that we can like kind of give them a kind little who they are, and also when you won the World Championships, did that help you get more sponsorships?
Well, I actually only won Worlds in August.
Oh.
Or, well, no, September. September.
Just recently.
Very recently.
Oh my God.
Thank you. So I think I definitely have picked up a couple new sponsors, and it's helped with my current sponsors. But hopefully next year I have an even better year and I can win. I'm trying to make finals for Slalom Worlds, so that's my goal I'm working towards right now. And then as for all of my sponsors, my boat sponsor is Jackson Kayak, my gear sponsor is Kokatat, Keen Footwear, Werner Paddles, G-Form Paddles, G-Power Paddles, G-Form Protection. They make elbow pads and protective gear, WRSI helmets, Snapdragon spray skirts, Swoop athletic wear, croquis, belts, watershed dry bags, blue water ropes, GoPro, and Smith Optics.
Wow.
It's a lot to remember.
I'm impressed. I guess at 15 you have that ability. Benefits of being a teenage athlete. I would like to know what kind of gear you wear, and we're in cold weather now. I mean, it is like, Sage has been training in the 40s all week long, and it is cold, and I don't know what kind of climate you're used to training in.
I train in the teens at home. This is lovely.
I would like to know what you do, what kind of gear. I read a little bit about, from your mom had talked a little bit about, I guess in an interview, some of the gear and what you found works for you and the different kinds of layering and how it helps you. Are you able to share a little bit about how you stay warm out there in the water?
Well, I'm lucky. Kokatat makes a full body dry suit. So I have latex gaskets on my neck and wrists, and then a full suit with like dry feet, and you stay completely dry.
So while we're talking about the Olympic run, I know that that's your hope. You said if not 2016, 2020 is your goal, and I can see from who you are and how such a great athlete that you are, that you shouldn't have any issues. I think that's always great to strive for. What does it take to be able to qualify for the Olympics, and how many people make it in your sport?
Well, we actually have 2 team trials that we take both results from, and we put them together, and it's a point system, and it's a little bit confusing as of how they combine the two, but they do. And we actually only get 1 boat per category. So we get 1 kayak woman, 1 kayak man, 1 canoe man, and 1 canoe 2-person man. And so you have to be the top boat in your country at the team trials to make it. So that's difficult to achieve, of course, hard competition. But actually, it's pretty cool for 2020. So we only send 1 woman because we only get kayak women, right? So for 2020, they're taking out canoe 2-person men and they're putting in canoe women. So we can send 2 women. And I do both categories, so I'm really trying for both.
That's great. And we were talking about cold weather here. What do you do to stay warm?
Well, I wear first, it depends on the discipline. For clay boating and creek boating, I wear a full body dry suit that has latex gaskets on my neck and wrists. And it has a zipper where I can get into it, and then everything else is Gore-Tex, so I can stay completely dry under that, and I usually wear like fleece layers and capline layers underneath it. So that keeps me very warm, and then I'll usually wear neoprene gloves and a little cap under my helmet to keep my ears warm. And then for slalom kayaking, I can't fit the whole dry suit into my boat because they're they're very small, light, fitted boats. Like the whole concept is light and fast for slalom. So I only wear a dry top on top, so it has the gaskets on the neck and wrist. So my top stays dry, luckily, but my bottoms do get a little wet, so I just try to layer up. I wear fleece pants and capline pants, and like I have neoprene pants as well, and just it's a lot of layers.
What's been the worst weather condition that you've kayaked in that you've had concerns or something nobody else has accomplished?
I have went freestyle kayaking with my dad in a blizzard a few times, which is very cold because in freestyle you flip over and you're doing flips and tricks. So you're under the water and then you roll up and it's snowing. It's cold. And then also I went to Spain this February to train with my coach for 2 weeks. And after one session, I had about this much ice over all of my gear. It was really cold.
Oh my God. What do you do? Like, how do you warm up, or what? Have you ever had any close calls?
I mean, I really haven't, because you're constantly moving usually, so that really helps. And then, I mean, if you do get to that point, you can usually get out and run into a building or a hot shower or something, or a car. We always have cars no matter what, so it's one of those where like you jump out of your kayak, you throw your gear off, and then you curl up under like a down blanket or something in the car with the heater on full blast.
What's Sage like outside of the kayak world? Who are you outside of the world? Like, tell me about
outside of kayak.
Tell me about yourself, like what you like to do, and outside of your kayaking world.
Well, I really enjoy rock climbing actually, and then I really love longboarding. Anything outdoors actually, I just love. Like, I go for hikes, I longboard, I'm pretty into archery. And I mean, I love hanging out with my friends outdoors and just doing the same. We all generally love the same things and just having fun and hanging out in between kayaking sessions. And like, usually we go to the outlet malls when we're here.
Are you training with a bunch of people here or just by yourself?
We actually had probably 10 people here.
Kid-wise, yes.
Kid-wise, yeah, about 10, and then we had a couple grown-ups, and usually every training camp there's a lot of kids, and then at every competition there's always kids, and we all know each other, and we're all buddies, and we all hang out, and it's just awesome.
What do you like to shop for, and where's your favorite store?
Ooh, I would have to say Hollister or American Eagle, probably. The American Eagle has the only jeans that actually fit me well.
It's so funny.
It's the athlete struggle with skinny jeans.
Tell me some of your other favorite likes.
Ooh, with shopping or
in general?
In general, I mean, I'm pretty boring. I just go outside and I'm happy. I mean, I love going on hikes and runs with my puppy. I have a 9-month-old Ridgeback puppy, and so we go everywhere together. And then I love music. I can't play any instruments, but I love to listen to music and all that stuff. And then I'm pretty into photography as well, and I do make kayaking videos, so that's pretty fun. I'm not sure if I'm good at it, but.
Do you know anybody else in your sport who lives with type 1 diabetes? If not in your sport, out of your sport, has anybody been able to mentor you?
Well, I actually know a couple of diabetics, but they don't really compete much anymore. There's one, Sarah Rowland, she lives out east, and we're Beatus buddies. Every time we see each other, we have to
What
be
buddies?
Beatus buddies.
Oh,
So diabetes.
Oh.
You know how Wilford Brimley calls it diabetes? So we're the Beatus buddies. And every time we see each other, we have to do like the Beatus bump with our catheters, and we're complete just goons together. But I mean, there's a couple in kayaking, and I stand up paddleboard a little bit as well. And there's a girl who just got diagnosed probably 5 months ago, or very recent, and she's 18. Her name's Fiona Wild, and she's been super incredible with adapting to diabetes, and we've been talking a lot, and it's just cool to see other people just training and having fun and achieving their goals with diabetes.
Do you have a role model who's an athlete who lives with diabetes, or somebody you've admired?
Honestly, all of my role models are pretty much just in kayaking. For freestyle, Claire O'Hara, she is a previous world champion. I think she was 3rd in the world this year. She's amazing. And Emily Jackson, she's the women's world champion for freestyle. And then Jessica Fox and Helga Tova for slalom. Helga Tova, she's actually, I want to say she's probably in her 40s now, and she has, I think, 3 kids, and she's still in the top 10
Wow.
at every world's race. She's amazing. I fangirl very hard. I'm one of those people, and Nuria Newman, she is absolutely incredible. She creek boats and slalom boats, and she actually, there's this one competition this year, it was a creek race, and it was insanely hard, and she got 8th in men's. She is amazing.
Who's the top one in your sport, the number 1 female in your sport right now?
Well, for freestyle, it's Emily, and then for creek boating, it's probably safe to say Nuria.
Wow.
And then for slalom, who's the top for slalom right now? I believe, I honestly don't know right now. I'm totally spacing out. I fangirl too much over Jessica. I think Jessica got
Jessica does
second.
both canoe and kayak.
Yes.
Is one of them.
Yes.
So the last thing I'm going to ask before I ask your mom is, I've read that you have not only diabetes, celiac disease, and thyroid disease. Did all these diagnoses come one after another, or did you have various signs and symptoms later on? And what do you do for treatment?
Well, I was diagnosed with diabetes when I was 3, and then when I was 8, I went to my endocrinologist. I'm sorry. I went to my endocrinologist, and she looked at my growth chart, and I hadn't grown at all. I mean, I'm 8, so that's not supposed to happen. So she said, well, you either have celiac or thyroid. So I went in, I got a blood draw, came back positive for celiac, and then that was easy. I mean, we just completely cut gluten out of our diet. My parents did it as well, so I'm very lucky with that. And then when I was 11, I stopped growing again. So we went back in, and I came back positive for thyroid, and that's actually been a little harder, just dialing in the correct dosage I need. I have to get a lot more blood draws for that, which kind of sucks, but...
Well, sleep deprivation is not one of your side effects.
It's really not. But both of them, it was weird. Like, for celiac, I never really got cramps or anything that other people say they get. I just literally just stopped growing. And so, I mean, the second 2 really haven't been really hard to manage. It's just paying more attention, which... it's probably better anyway, right?
Stephanie, this is to most of the moms who have children or teenagers with living with diabetes, whether in a competitive sport or not. And I'm a mother of a child with diabetes as well, type 1 diabetes. we worry all the time. We're mothers, we have to worry, but I think we worry more than necessary because we never know the what ifs. I know a lot of people like myself, we get up in the middle of the night to either do blood sugar checks or we monitor the Dexcom, and we're the people that need to make sure that they're taken care of, their medical needs, you know, everything. Tell me a little bit as a mom to Sage that you might want to share with other moms about what it's like to go through this process with Sage. How do you handle it emotionally, and what kind of what did you do for yourself to be able to come up with the right program so that you don't have that heightened anxiety?
I'm going to be honest, when she was diagnosed, I probably had a harder time with it. Having to poke my 3-year-old's fingers and check her blood sugar and then having to put needles in her. Having been around needles all my life, in the fire service and stuff, it was, needles weren't a problem, but to mentally know I was going to be hurting my daughter purposely every day was kind of an issue that took a week or two to get through. But once again, we've always emphasized focusing on the positive, and you always look for the positive. And if the positive has to be pounded in your head that you will have the best chance of living a healthy, normal life, then that's what you have to do. I'm also somebody who doesn't shield things. I've known people in their 20s who've had ulcerated eyes, who've had wounds that wouldn't heal because they were not taking care of their diabetes. And I tell her that that is an option. And it's yucky and icky, but you can take care of yourself. We can help you with that, or you can let yourself go. And at this point especially, maintaining a healthy lifestyle has always been something our entire family strives for, and she has never had an issue. So I've been lucky in that. I feel I've raised, she is our only child. We stopped at perfection. And I feel we have raised a person with a lot of good self-esteem, with a lot of positive ideas, and just striving for the best she can be. And as a mother, that's all I can hope for.
And what did you do to help support and manage and help regulate her diabetes? What kind of active role did you have in that, helping Sage as she was growing up?
Well, a lot of that was getting her on a pump as soon as possible. Her doctors actually tried to postpone it for a year, but we were pretty insistent because we wanted to be able to manage her healthcare as optimally as we could. And at that time, the pump was the first step. So we got her on a pump fairly quickly after her diagnosis. Another part of that would be when she was diagnosed with celiac, my husband and I completely went gluten-free. There was no gluten in the house. There was not a problem. My husband then found out he is sensitive to gluten because he would go to the fire station and try and eat a pizza and end up bloated and cramped. I myself have cheated and have found out that I don't have any issues with, I could not have gluten for a year and have something and it doesn't affect me. But it's not something that is acceptable in our household when we go out to restaurants anywhere. So that's just part of it, is whatever the situation is, we look at the positives and negatives and we figure out the best way we as a family can adapt to it. And a lot of it is that we do it as a family. We don't separate anybody. We don't, whether if she had siblings or in this case, we know I can eat gluten. We don't have gluten. It's just how it is. So we try and do it as a family so we can support each other.
It's all you can ask for. I admire you so much. I just think you are just the cutest thing. Absolutely adorable. Personality, looks, all around. You're going to be even more successful than you already are. It is so touching to see the kind of family that you have, the love and involvement. I mean, I always say, it's not money. Of course you want health. It's not the big scheme of things. It's the love that you're given. All you need is love. And when you have love, you know, it's like the world and back. So I want to thank you so much. Sage is on the road, and she stayed to help me have this wonderful opportunity to speak with her, and has given her 3-day road trip back home, an extra little added training time afterwards to be with me. So
thank you so
so much. You're just a sweetheart, and I really enjoy getting to know you.
Very nice meeting you, and thank you so much. This is awesome.